400 plus duelists stepped up to play in, well, a relatively large regional. And yes, that is Sprite Tri-Brigade taking it down. Alright, to the 30% of you that have not smashed the ever-living crap out of that subscribe button, smash it so you guys know Mizan Moras content. Talk about some big names out here. Cody Angeloff, Shannon Long topping this regional. But these are not going to be your conventional top cuts. If you're looking at this pie chart right now, you're like, that is some pretty good diversity here. Now, we had 2 Sprite decks. I do know that the winning list was actually Tri-Brigade Sprite, and we will have that here for you in a second, which is very, very beautiful, by the way. I am happy to see that Sprite is kind of waking up here and getting the chance to showcase some of its power. Like, that is super exciting to see. We also had 2 Kashtira decks out here. If you're looking at a format here, you can always pretty much expect the same thing out of this format, where you're going to see here that the standard of the format is just Kashtira, Kashtira, Kashtira. Yeah, you'd love to see that here. Now, as we get into like the one-of sector here, we had 1 Labyrinth list make its way into Top Cut. I'm not really too surprised about that. Most of you have kind of seen a lot of these regionals where you will have your 1 conversion turnover for Labyrinth. It's no real big stranger here. We also had 1 branded deck, which Cody Angeloff took in and smashed through Top Cut. Very, very good to see that. We also had Naturia Runic as well. You'll see some of the evolutions and ideas that are being put to the test for that variation of the deck. And then we also had a Marincess deck make its way into Top Cut as well. Shannon here really bringing it to the table. Like, this isn't the first time, though, that we've seen Marincess be successful out here. You know, Shannon had success out here at the YCS, and then, you know, literally a week later, we're smashing down the regional level. So more and more people here are starting to kind of take notice of this deck, which is very, very good. We're going to pass on over to the top deck list. All right, guys, winning the regional here was Dylan Fox. I got to give a shout out here to Guru Gaming for him. And let me tell you, I saw so many people were like excited for this duelist to get the chance to top this. I actually saw people sharing the post, and that really warms my heart here, that you can see so many supportive people out here just supporting their friend out of these regional tops. So good stuff to this. So we are using the Tri-Brigade package to essentially do full combo here. Now, we are not playing Frogdoll. We're just on the Karis, the Kit, and the Nerval lines of play here, just so you can set up the Revolt line here and then basically punish your opponent so that they can't get the chance to really play the game. Now, this is much different than some of the other previous iterations of this deck, because, you know, people will try to play the Frogdoll. No, this deck doesn't really care. I mean, you don't really have a lot of the big dump lines that you would in the previous builds, but it's not going to stop this build from really getting the chance to kind of capitalize and make the big pushes that it really needs to do down here. Now, I mean, you're on double Shirog, you know, the 1 Frigette and the 1 Bear Broom, and we're also playing 1 Pit Knight down here as well. Kind of a really nice exception to the rule here. And we're also playing some very powerful of them going second cards to laugh at your opponent. I love the fact that your opponent can't get the chance to play the game here. Next up is Shannon's list, and we are sporting off Contact C in the main deck here. We've seen Contact C kind of show up a little bit. I know more and more people have been kind of looking around the room going, you know, is that really something that you want to try? I think so. The fact that this card's controller cannot fusion, synchro, exceed, or link summon unless they use this. Now, do keep in mind, like, Donner does exist, but it's really going to depend on which stage that you hand this to them. If you hand this to them at a stage that they're attempting to do a link summon that they've already locked themselves into Exceed, for example, that's where this becomes punishing. All right, it's when conditions lock you that will present this card's really good power. Now, we are playing Book of Eclipses in here for defensive lines. I mean, like I said, there's not really much of a change from this, from Shannon's previous list to the one here via the YCS. Still got defensive option lines here with this. still doing the double dive, which is absolutely amazing. And of course, good old Zealantis here is still taking down. I love the fact that this card is just so good in this deck. Like, this was like one of the missing pieces to really put this deck, I would almost consider, ahead of its time. So yeah, Marincess actually doing something out here. I'm impressed. I'm actually very happy to see this as a competent rogue deck right now. Next up here is Cody Angeloff's branded list, playing a modified version from one of the top cut duelists here. I think it was just minus a couple of things here. So yes, we still are going to rely on the Omega Awesome Dark Magician here. And then of course, good old Expulsion plays to really disrupt the opponent through the Gimmick Puppet. Now, the thing that's stuck around here that's made this deck a little bit more unique right now is the fact that you can Aqua Neos, grab the Aqua Dolphin off of the fusion deployment here, and then you can basically play a Spy IC in your opponent's hand and go, oh, that's a really nice hand trap you have there. It'd be a shame if, we could take that utility option away from you, and then you won't be able to capitalize on that. So this deck is still relatively strong for what it wants to do at the end of the day. No real shocker, though, to see that we are having good success with this out here. So good for a top 4 finish, absolutely. Next up here is our 5th place Runic Naturi deck, and yeah, the remains of the Ishizu package here, with the Agido, the Kelbeck, the Keldo, and the Mudora all freshly limited to 1. Now, this deck is actually playing evenly matched, which is actually kind of cool. The fact that you do kind of need some going second options here in order to play this. The bad thing is, like, if your opponent knows you're playing back row, they're going to try to get really cheesy and try to lock down all of your zones. But that's what this card's for. If they leave you one zone, you go ahead and evenly off their field, and you go to town. I mean, you also have Book of Eclipses here for defensive options as it is, but like the thing that makes this deck really, really strong right now is just because you have all of these utility options here. Plus, setting up a Naturia monster has made this by far the strongest variation. Like, sorry to tell your opponent this, but like, they're not going to have a fun time trying to play through the relatively large fields that come off of this deck. Like, this and this are both very intimidating monsters. So outside of that, the 2 Fountain I think is fine. The biggest thing with this is, like, back row destruction does exist within this format. Is it going to be crazy, like amazing numbers? I don't particularly think so. You just got to know that if your opponent tries to do something, I mean, you warp out the Hugin and you kind of continue on with your day. So I don't see anything else really too weird about this deck. Everything feels, I guess, pretty straightforward here at the end of the day. Next up here is our Labyrinth list. I feel like 2 of the Green Maid has just stuck around as the norm at this point. Like, nobody's really challenging this anymore. There's like, oh, yeah, that's fine. I don't see a reason to move around the ratios for this. Now, the big things that I will say here, that we are main deck in double sphere mode. I guess you kind of take your poison here. Like, the sphere mode does give you the out to handle some of these large Kashtira boards if your opponent, sets up something. But the downside of this turns out that it's going to depend on, at the end of the day, if they really can, I guess, handle that out. I mean, to be fair, your opponent's going to play around, 25 other back row here. But it's going to depend. I guess this duelist has had a lot of issues with Kashtira, so that would explain that. Also, shout out to Heartland Draco in here to make a supercharged Zeus. And then we have a 26th place out of Georgia here, which was actually good old Drytron. Now, I went ahead and included this. I'll do the same thing here anytime we go to talk about regionals. If something else kind of squeaks into the top cut here, top 32 is always very interesting. This build is playing Chochu of the Trillion Hands. I think the Chochu here has kind of become more of a norm at this point. A lot more people are looking at this going, hey, this is actually kind of worth some consideration. And I do agree with that, all right? Like, this does open up a lot more lines of play for consideration just because it's 100% searchable, and then it leads to the additional search lines here for you to get whatever you need to. So as you're stepping through Drytron combo here, tributing off and setting up, it's all kind of free real estate here. So I like what I'm seeing. So what do you guys think about the overall breakdown for this regional for 400 plus people. Please leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think. I'll see your beautiful faces back here later today, guys. Peace. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.